considered a poet of the people, but was many things throughout my lifetime. Hobo, soldier, musician, storyteller, historian. One of my most famous poems I call Fog. Some of you other children laughed at another one of my stories that Mr. Story told you earlier this year, The 5 Marvelous Pretzels. I love words from the get-go. My mother would call out, "Carl Sandburg, get your nose out of that book. It's time to eat." But I've always enjoyed words. My favorite thing as a kid was collecting them in pocket notebooks. I always thought outside the box, even the cigar box I used to make to fashion a banjo album. So when you get time, try one of my rutabaga tales. They'll make you smile at the very least.
Give me a rope ball, give you a show. And when I mean show, it could very well have been a radio program from the 1920s to 1930s. Live from WMDA, Will Rogers, the cowboy comedian. I like to make people laugh. Although I had a rough time in my teens, my first trick was to lasso a teacher by accident, which got me expelled from school. Things started to pick up for me after that. I started doing comedy shows and wound up in Hollywood. I was on the radio and had a column in the newspaper. I even wrote articles about World War I when I was in Europe. People felt like they were right beside me when they read my stories. I became one of America's best-loved humorists, just spinning my rope and making a crowd laugh. To this very day, people associate the name Will Rogers with a very large smile.
My birthday is October 14th, 1867. I am the daughter of a banker, and even though we had plenty of slaves, I was still expected to make my bed and do other chores that also help along with my 13 other siblings. While I went to stay on college, I learned good manners and etiquette. I would never wear this dress and pearls out in public. A lady should only wear gray. There were many gentlemen who tried to get my attention, but I chose Mr. William Neal Reynolds. We married in 1889 and moved to beautiful Tanglewood. And I also love taking care of my husband. In my will, I was fortunate to set up the Copey Reynolds Charitable Trust. It gave $160 million to the needy in North Carolina. I am Copey Reynolds.
There are pots and pans and kettles galore. When I think I'm all done, there's always some more. That's the song that me and my sisters sang when we did the dishes in my mother's kitchen. I have a really long name, Edna St. Vincent Millay. When I was a child, my family just called me Vincent. As I loved writing early on, I proudly entered my poems in contests as E. St. Dean Millay. As an 18-year-old, I entered my poem Renaissance in a contest. Although I didn't win, everyone, even the man who did win, thought there should be a recount. Not bad for a young woman, don't you think? As an 18-year-old, around my close friends, I was fun and bubbly. At Vassar College, I lived in a bubble. I kept to myself. I wrote about outdoors and relationships. I loved to read romance poems with my Latin professor to relax. I learned my craft quite well. 3 Pulitzer Prizes to verify that.
You would think people in my class would know what the E stands for, and E equals MC squared, created by me, Albert Einstein. I wonder how many of you folks know what those letters stand for. When I was about 5, my father, an engineer, showed me a magnetic compass, and I got so interested in how the pen always pointed north that I wanted to find out even more. That's what inspired me. I even built a house of cards 14 stories high once. I saw little dust mites walking in, making it their home. I've always been curious and noticed things. In addition to the 1929 Nobel Peace Prize, I won posthumously Time Magazine's Person of the Century in 1999. I do believe the world of science and the world in general is better off because of my curiosity.
Have you
ever thought the moon followed you wherever you went? As a little girl, that's what I thought. The moon gave me confidence that I was that important. I would be well known if I had lived in this age of Oprah Winfrey. I was full of life, confident, charismatic, and determined to be extraordinary. I wrote many plays, stories, and musicals, but died penniless and unknown. I experienced adversity, but I held my head high. Author Alice Walker revived interest in me by searching for my grave, providing a headstone for it, and published an article entitled In Search of Zora Neale Hurston in 1975.
I was dancing in my first movie, Bright Eyes, at the age of 3. I was in many films, mostly as a child actor. If you love horses, you probably loved watching me in National Velvet. People smiled when I acted because, well, I was just so darn cute. Plus, there were my dimples and my curls. In my adult life, I got interested in service to my country, and I became ambassador for the United States to the countries of Ghana and Czechoslovakia. I lived a full life. In fact, I am still alive and kicking at the age 84. I do admit, though, I do miss seeing my name, Shirley Temple, up on the theater marquee in lights.
Look at me and move a little to the left. Perfect. Oh, hi. I was just trying to take this picture. Let me introduce myself. I'm Margaret Bergwhite. I'm a photographer. You might know me. I'm grateful to my parents who always encouraged me to set high goals for myself. Maybe that's why I always dream big. I wanted to be a herpetologist and visit the jungle. That didn't work out, but it didn't stop me from wearing a snake around my neck to pictography class in my mentor's house. Mr. White taught me how to make pictures look good. That did it. I was Fortune magazine's very first photographer in 1929. I took pictures of combat in World War II, President Roosevelt with other polio patients, Jewish victims of concentration camps, and even the Soviet Union government let me, Margaret Bergwhite, into their country in 1930. I was the very first Western photographer allowed to do so. Mahatma Gandhi's image at his spinning wheel in India capped my achievements. Maybe I could take a picture of you.
Two groups of people that were not treated well in America during the 20th century were migrant workers during the Depression and Japanese Americans who were interned during World War II. Their play and their lives forever stamped in America's history through my photography. I was happy when the U.S. government started sending aid to all the starving migrant workers in California. In newspapers, people started noticing my byline, photographed by Dorothea Lange, and I became well known for my empathetic photos. If you are unfamiliar with my work, try Googling my most famous photo entitled Migrant Mother.
Details, details, details. I'm painting select photographs of America in the 1940s and 1950s. From history to country scenes, horse and buggy, to Model T Fords. I painted the latest inventions from electricity to radio to TV. Even today, most people who see one of my paintings say, wow, that has to be a Norman Rockwell painting of everyday life. Did you know that my painting of Ruby Bridges being escorted to a New Orleans school by 4 federal marshals describes a scene of school integration better than most history books or newspaper columns? I'm proud of that.
There's a Nobel Prize medal for medicine issued in 1989 for a biochemist named for myself, Gertrude Ellie. Yes, that's correct, a female biochemist. Even in today's culture, women scientists are not that prevalent. In my career, I created medicines to cure malaria, leukemia, viral herpes, and AIDS, all deadly diseases. Many people in my family died from cancers and diseases. I wanted to try to make a difference, and I think I have. Not many of my friends were interested in the golf,
won many amateur tournaments, and then turned pro for Spalding Sporting Goods. Warren Bullitt Bell, who I loved since high school, asked me to marry him in 1953, and we have 3 wonderful children. We moved to Southern Pine. Warren and I purchased Mid-Pine Golf Course. We were a good team. I was honored to receive the Bob Jones Award and to be the first lady in the World Golf Teachers Hall of Fame. I'm 91 years old and still love playing and teaching golf. I'm Peggy Cook Bell. Am I late for the union meeting? Is my name on the list? Dolores Huerta. Oh, there it is. I started this union to improve farm workers' conditions and wages. It is called the National Farm Workers Association, NFWA, and it protects migrant workers from being taken advantage of by their bosses. My union made certain workers got paid. Over the years, we had strikes and boycotts against the California grape growers. I had 6 ribs broken by union busters. Eventually, we improved our working conditions. I grew up in the 1930s in New Mexico, spending a lot of time talking to my grandmother. She taught me how to read and write and how to honor and respect others, even if they're different from me. By the way, I had 11 kids of my own, so it was really hard to find time to create a union for farm workers. Somehow I made it happen. My influential grandmother called me 7 tongues because I talked so much. I guess all that talking with my grandmother paid off.
It's not unusual at all, even today, for someone in Chicago or another large city to exclaim, "Oh look, there's a Frank Lloyd Wright building." My designs have a unique quality to them. That's why my creations are found all over the world. If you ever get a chance, visit Thousand near Spring Green, Wisconsin. It's a beautiful pastoral where my designs live. It's where I grew up. It's also where our princesses come by learning by helping me with my projects. I wasn't always the easiest person to get along with, but my genius got people to overlook my shortcomings. I had a dream once of a mile-high building. I kept sketching and drafting. I thought it was never built. There are over 500 buildings that were never built.
Sassy, classy, down to earth, generous. These are all adjectives that can be used to describe me. When I was a young girl, I loved drama, music, and art. I attended a small college in Virginia, where my father, who was a minister, was present. I then went on to Sandburg College in Ohio, and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I married my beloved husband, James Gordon Haynes Jr., who was head of Haynes Corporation. We were very happily married together. We volunteered our time and homes to establishing